I think this time we're up and running finally. I hope you're all doing well. Join us for this stream. We are going to be talking about the coronavirus. I'm sorry if you're tired of the subject, but hey, it's a pandemic. How often does that happen? It's raining cats and dogs right now in Moscow. This morning it was code orange, where code red is like a hurricane, and I know that already one person died. So from a tree falling onto his vehicle. So that's what's happening in Moscow as we speak. Lots of stuff. The ruble fell against the dollar and the euro this week, which is not great for us. I mean, obviously, we're not economic specialists or anything like that, but this isn't the first time that this has happened, and the way things usually go, it's not going to recover, not fully at least, and this means that gradually prices are going to rise, and this is going to include flights, obviously. So for all Russians who travel, this is not great, and imagine like you get paid the same amount of money in Russian rubles, but then you travel somewhere like London where it's 100 against a ruble and everything's super expensive, even more expensive than it used to be. So that's not great. But given the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, I mean, not many people are traveling, so it's just more and more depressing, isn't it? And I think it's a conscious decision for all Russians to make, to maybe postpone any traveling that they have to do. As of yet, Moscow's still open. It's a city of about 20 million, and we have 5 airports in Moscow alone. Right now, only one is functioning. It's the Sheremetyevo airport, and that's obviously done to monitor the situation, but Moscow isn't closed. To some countries it is. It's illegal to fly into Russia, into Moscow from certain countries, but I will talk about that a little bit later, because I have some stats and facts for you about the coronavirus and how Russians and how Muscovites are dealing with the issue. Like literally, this is the last time that we're streaming from this office, because next week we're going to be working from home. Yeah, that's what's happening. It's a little bit scary. But nonetheless, we'll get to that later. I do want to honor all of you and the comments that you left to our streams previously, but also I realized that I forgot to apologize for being so late. There's a good reason for that. We were just filming a segment that I think we're going to air next week or maybe the week after that, but that was so much fun and it was crazy and there was so much preparation that went into that we went fully overboard and we're half an hour late, which is not fashionable and not graceful of us. So I do apologize that you had to wait. We will stay with you for a little bit longer than 4 p.m. Moscow time, so no worries. We'll have enough time to spend together. I'll get to your comments. Thanks so much. You can see them coming in. I will get to those a little bit later on in the show today, and you're going to find out very soon why. So let's talk about the comments that you left last week. Tsue Spirit commenting on the stream that we had about female rights and the 8th of March and International Women's Day. She says, or he says, if Russia's Women's Day does not symbolize feminism, it's no one's place to criticize it. It's a day when women are appreciated, and that's all. Also noteworthy is that Russian men in general are gentlemen towards women. In many Western countries, men are generally impolite towards women, the same countries where women have equal rights. I'm not arguing as to who is right or wrong, but every culture is proper yet imperfect in its own way. The world is always changing. To be honest, I haven't encountered impolite men in Western countries. That's not the impression that I've ever come back with. Everyone's been actually really nice, and I definitely know that sometimes Russian men can be incredible assholes. So that's also, let's not generalize. It's always down to the people. Thank you so much for the comment, though. It's, there's something to reflect upon. Sisyphus Vasilius. Why not both? Recognition for the roles women already play, while recognizing and drawing attention to what progress is still required. I totally agree. I think combining the best of both is the healthier approach towards this. It does sometimes feel like in order to draw attention to anything, to certain things, you kind of have to tip the, you have to be grotesque and you have to go a little bit overboard, and then things even out and balance themselves out, etc. Because if everything is nice and calm, and who would want change? Dortest, happy Women's Days, ladies. A great start for gender equality in Russia should be equal retirement age. This is awfully skewed against men. It's barbaric. I can't think of another country that does this, and it surprises me why men put up with that crap, especially because their life expectancy is lower. So formally, it's 55 for women and 60 for men. Yeah, and now it's 60 for women and 65 for men. So men get to work 5 years longer than women do in Russia. Do you know what? I agree. I think that I would definitely work another 5 years in order to secure equal pay, equal economic rights, equal social rights, etc. So, like, I'd give that up to be equally accepted socially and in the workplace as men are. Like, full on. Not just on paper. Anna Bay thanks us in Russian, and Anna, you're welcome. Thank you so much for your comment, and for all of you out there, thanks so much for your Russian comments. Obviously we understand them, and that's fine, but to make sure that we read them out loud, please make sure that your comments are in English. If you don't care for that, you can choose whichever language you prefer. That's totally fine by us. It's okay. Cody Bennett, Spasiba Anna for the video, thank you. I enjoy your videos on subjects like this one. As someone whose girlfriend is Russian, I know that March 8th is a day that I should never forget. Could you please do more videos on holidays, history of famous people like Alexander Nevsky, and of famous landmarks? I think it would be wonderful to know more about those. Again, spasiba for all the hard work you put into these videos. Cody, thank you so much for your tips. I actually wanted to talk to you about something because you asked us previously to do more on music, and we wanted to, and we started looking into that. And it turned out that it's incredibly tricky to do that on YouTube because you need to like obtain rights for the musical clips that you use, etc. So, but we'll definitely get back to that as well, because I mean, I'm very into music and I'm interested in the subject, and I think that there are some amazing, there's some amazing music that's coming out from Russia right now that's been here in the times that, you know, Russia was way more closed to, well, to anyone, basically, to the West, to the world. And there are some great bands that I'd like to share with you, but I wouldn't want to do it in a fashion where I'm just like naming names and asking you to then Google them. So we're working on that, and I hope that we can come up with something decent at some point of time. The Game left us a long and interesting comment advising us on how to structure our shows to make sure that they're a little bit more like Tim's, and I think a little bit easier to comprehend and digest when you actually know what lies ahead and how you'll go about the show. And I think that that's fair, because I do tend to like ponder and jump from story to story, and it's just the way I create my own narrative, I suppose, always in life. But I decided to use this opportunity to do a way more structured show. So I can see that you're already commenting, and I'm excited about that, but I'll get to that way closer towards the end of the show, to your comments. Whereas right now I want to go through the structure that has always existed, but it's been very difficult to follow it, I realize, because I do get distracted very easily by my own thoughts, which pretty much shows that I'm daft, which is great for someone who's streaming on YouTube. So right now we're working on some exciting stuff. Our March 8th video is obviously out. If you haven't seen it, I mean, watch it, please. Do it, because it's fun. It's not nasty. If you're a man, you won't feel offended. Be sure. And it really nails why International Women's Day is so different here in Russia from the rest of the world. It just like goes through the facts and history, and it's fun to watch. And also, Tim did a video on how to use the Moscow metro, which is completely irrelevant now from one point. I mean, the metro is open, but everyone's advised to stay away from public places in Moscow. But also, it's like your best opportunity to discover this underground gem of the Russian capital without actually leaving your couch. So check that one out on Tim's channel. It's very good. And to make sure that you do so, we wanted to give you this sneak preview of the video right now.
Friends, if you're going to be visiting Moscow, that means you're probably going to be arriving on an airplane. And if you're arriving on an airplane in Moscow, that means you're probably going to be taking the Air Express train downtown to one of these lovely train stations like the one behind me. And once you get to the train station, well, you got to go further, don't you? So that's when you'll be using the Moscow subway system, also known as the metro. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do just that.
Am I back? Ooh, yes, I am. I can't really see. There's a monitor over there where I should be able to see myself, but I can't because there's a lamp in front of it. So I'm like, what is that? But it's nice lighting. It's like I'm on a beach. Anyway, I can't resist and read your comments a little bit. JW11 says, make a playlist on Spotify, Anna, which is so genius. That's exactly what we should do. We should make short little playlists, advertise them here, and make sure that you have access to that kind of music and stream it legally and not perfect. Thank you so much. Spasibo. I mean, great. That's exactly what we should do. With Russia Beyond, the website, which is rbth.com, we have two very popular articles which both tend to do something with tyranny, history, and suffering, which is totally okay because everyone has their own coping mechanisms, right? Okay, so one of them is, why did Napoleon invade Russia? Yeah, there it is, just there. So Napoleon's invasion of Russia was his biggest and deadliest campaign, but it also put an end to his army and consequently his reign. Yeah, and we state 4 reasons why Bonaparte attacked the Russian Empire in the first place in this article, so you can check that out. And the other one is even more terrifying. It's about Saltychicha, and she was the most evil woman in Russian history, because it's believed that she tortured to death over 100 of her own serfs, and the majority of those were young women. So if you've ever seen the American Horror Story, there is an episode of a lady who is basically modeled on Saltychicha, a terrifying lady. And yeah, that's what's going on with what's happening on the website right now. I just told you that our office is going to start working from home on Monday because that's where the coronavirus is taking Muscovites these days. And I just wanted to tell you about how the city's coping, what truth and lies, what's been terribly exaggerated, like people going to jail for not admitting that they've traveled, and what's actually a little bit, well, did I say a little bit? No, I meant what's actually worrying when it comes to the COVID-19. So it's a pandemic, which means that it's hitting Russia as well, and Moscow, although the official stats are pretty low compared to those to the global ones. There are at least 28 registered patients in Russia, including 6 new ones that were added in the last 24 hours. 4 of them in Moscow alone. And as of now, Moscow is on high alert status, which means that large events where like more than 5,000 people could attend those are all banned, and people are encouraged to stay at home, and employers are encouraged to ask their employees to stay at home. No one is obliged to do that as of yet. Shops are open, theaters are open, cinemas are open, everything is still open, but that might change within just a few days. It's the way things have been going elsewhere. Like suddenly today, Belgium's closed as well. It's crazy. And yeah, so store shelves are full. There's no visible stock panic yet, but I think that could also be linked to the fact that Muscovites are very used to buying their groceries online. So people have been stocking up, but you can't really track that yet by just going into the deli. One of the very, I suppose, very Russian ways of taking in worrying information like this, like a pandemic, would be immediately turning to conspiracy theories. Now, these are spreading as fast as the virus in Russia. So some of them include the fact that COVID-19 is a chemical weapon, that the virus spreads through mosquito bites, that a vaccine already exists, that, and a recent one is that this virus was designed to wipe out Italy's aging population to boost the country's economy, which doesn't make any sense because the country is on a lockdown and will probably face an economic recession. So I don't think that would help at all. The good news is that there is also sanity. So, for example, the Moscow's official website has a completely comprehensive coronavirus information guide with all the latest developments, numbers, popular questions answered. And I just wanted to go in and read out some of them to you. So, for example, I came from Italy. I feel good. What will happen if you do not observe the regime of self-isolation? So people that come from, that travel to Moscow from high alert regions like Italy, by law, are meant to stay at home for 2 weeks for the quarantine period. So here's the answer. By the decree of the government of the Russian Federation, coronavirus is included into the list of diseases that pose danger to others. So violation of this law entails liability, including criminal liability, which means whenever it's a criminal liability, that always equals imprisonment up to 5 years. And this has been misinterpreted already by the media, saying that Russia is jailing people for traveling to high-risk regions. That's not true. But because this does state criminal liability that could possibly happen, compliance with the regime is monitored by video surveillance. In case of violation of the regime, a citizen will be accommodated in the observatory. So just recently there was this news that came through that a Duma deputy failed to register when he came back from a trip to a high-risk area, and he's in big trouble. He might lose his position, and he's been forced to leave his job and sent into quarantine already. Where can I get a coronavirus test? Well, nowhere. Self-analysis is not provided. And people that are subject to inspection are only those who arrived over the past 14 days from countries with an unfavorable epidemiological situation: China, Korea, Iran, now Italy as well. Persons with signs of acute respiratory viral infections who arrived from countries where cases of the disease were recorded, and persons in contact with someone who is deceased with a deceased coronavirus infection. So the way things go right now, you basically have to call an ambulance in. They will come over and you say that, well, yada yada, this is happening. And then the scenario unrolls two ways. They take you away to an infection hospital that has always existed in Russia, or to this new huge hospital which was just built, and it was especially handed over to people with coronavirus just for now. And the worrying thing is that that's just like an enormous space, but they're also building another one on the outskirts of Moscow, which means that Moscow is getting ready for numbers to grow. So questions are always like, if I'm isolated, should my family members who have not visited dangerous countries also stay at home? Which hospitals will potentially infected patients be assigned to? Why is the border on entry and exit to Russia not closed? What preventive measures are introduced in schools? Schools are still open. except I know that kids, their temperatures are monitored daily. So every day, someone takes all of the pupils and kindergarten kids' temperature to see how that goes. But again, that might very quickly change, which is terrifying. So yeah, this was something that I just discovered earlier today, and I found this website very helpful. It literally has everything you need to know. It says don't panic. Hang on, it's obviously all in Russian. So yeah, Moscow prudently introduces enhanced preventive measures to control the spread of coronavirus infections. It warns from people who are trying to hype the panic up in social media, etc. And it says that there are no drugs available as of yet. So if someone tries to sell you any drugs from coronavirus, that's a scam. They even mentioned that messengers like WhatsApp or anything else like Telegram have been spreading false information in order to create panic. And yeah, trust only official sources, la la la. But there have been some very decent media reports already that I think people can definitely trust and turn to in moments of confusion. Yeah. So let me have a look at your recent comments coming in to see whether or not I can give you some answers. People are saying hello, 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 Maitre, hello, Patricia Bennett. Yeah, it's really lovely to see all of you as well. Please let me know how are things your end as well, because I'd be very interested to hear your perspective. Some of my friends in Europe have been sending me photographs and information about how it's difficult to get produce, etc. But that's obviously due to the fact that everyone's been hype buying and stores haven't been stocking up enough for us to nervously buy too much food, which is a coping mechanism as well, because it's like us trying to control a situation that is impossible to control. So you're trying to do at least something to calm yourself down. And I mean, that's where the 3-kilo rice bags come in. Greetings from India. Hello to you in India as well. Greetings from West Coast of America. Good morning. Good morning, John Smith. Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm a little bit tired because John Smith says that I'm looking good today. I feel good, which is already an accomplishment these days, and I'm a little bit tired, yeah, because we've been filming since morning today. Also, yes, hi from Poland, Polski Honor, hello Poland. It's like one of the last trips I took was to Poland, and I loved it so much. Krakow, oh, just perfect. Patricia Bennett, I agree. Everyone all over the world have good people and unkind people. That's just the way it is, isn't it? And somehow it's the unkindness that always stands out. So you forget about all of the good people there, and you're just like, you've been nasty to me in Thailand. I bet everyone's nasty in Thailand. They're not. Thailand is amazing. Will I ever see it again? JY Joyce, hi, I'm a uni student majoring Russian in Korea, and your video on Russian feminism and your video on Russian feminism helped me get a better understanding on Russia, so thanks. Well, thank you so much for watching and appreciating. How are you doing in Korea? Because, yeah, you've got some scary numbers of people who've been ill, but also fantastic numbers of people who have recovered, so well done, Korea. Maitre Photographia, excited about the music project. Thank you. I'm excited as well. I'm actually really looking forward to that. That might be my assignment for next week, because I'll be streaming from home next Friday. Okay. The 8D experience. My state has multiple cases of coronavirus. The county over to mine. My school announced that they will keep going until it reaches us, but then it will be too late. Don't worry and don't panic. Coronavirus on its own, if you get ill, is a bit like a flu. So you get ill and then you recover. It's extremely dangerous for people who are a little bit older, okay? I think older than 50, everyone says, because that's when they develop pneumonia and it's very difficult to treat. So don't worry about the virus per se. Be a little bit wary of where the economy's heading these days. But otherwise, just like stay safe, stay put. And I have a few tips for you guys a little bit later. I'll get back to that. Alwyn Nell, привет from South Africa. Good to see team content included. Of course, Tim and I, we're like buddies. Does Russia have Spotify? Russia does not have Spotify officially. There are ways, though, my children, to work around these internet boundaries and securities, which I will not tell you about, because I am law-abiding. James A. Hello, finally caught you live. Yes! It's... what time is it where you are, and where are you from? Alwyn Nell, by the way, cool shirt. Thank you so much. I think it really works well with the red behind me. Aijan, my producer and director, texted me this morning and said that I will have a red background, and I thought, well, hey, I'm an artist, I studied arts, I know colours. Blue will suit it best. Ta-da! Xnop says that Moscow Times says 35 cases now. Potentially could be true. I can't Google it right now because I'm talking to you guys, but I know that the official numbers were 28 this morning. So we'll have to check. JW11. Russia had such a small percentage of cases, it's quite impressive. And now that every country is closing borders, I think it will subside in 2 months at least. My hope is that that's exactly what's going to happen. But also with Russia, I'm not always sure that the stats are correct, because right now the official stance is that if you're not feeling well, self-isolate. Don't put too much pressure on the medical system. Don't put too much pressure on the healthcare system. If you're kind of doing okay, just stay at home. So this means that there are a lot of cases that go unnoticed and they're not recorded and we just don't know about them. So keep that in mind. Alwyn Nell. Do an episode about Nazinsky Island. Gotcha, will do. And if it won't be us, it will be Tim. Rackland Rome, ban Americans. Or why? I think this is one of those times where we shouldn't let any nationalism hinder our focus on the fact that this is just one big planet and we're all the same and we're in this all together. So, no way. James A. Qatar jumped from 30-40 to 250 a couple of days ago thanks to Labour camps. I'm not sure I understand what's going on. No, Damien. Anna, what's the best Russian restaurant in Sydney? I have no clue. I haven't been to Sydney for, nearly 30 years? I don't know. If you find out, let me know. Yeah, sweetly, I live upstate New York. Schools are closed for 2 weeks. Yeah, New York has been pretty much closed down. I forgot what it's called. It's like чрезвычайное положение. How do you translate that? Emergency. Okay, yeah, New York is in a state of emergency, so that's why it's happening there. Right now, that was Gleb, my boss. It's good to have a boss who's smarter than you. Always make sure you do that in life, children. Yes. Okay, well, I'll get to your comments a little bit later. And we'll keep the discussion... Actually, no, I'm going to stay here because there's so much coming in. Protect your beloved elders. They're the most vulnerable, Mikhail Rashkov. Yes, exactly. Vituzzo Alberti. In Italy, stores are full. They were empty only one day. That's good to know. And my heart goes out to Italy. I know you guys are not, it's not easy for you at the moment, and I just hope that you recover well and everything's okay. And I saw a heartwarming video of an older Italian lady speaking to the youth, and lavo il mani, she says, wash your hands, and it's very sweet. John Smith, hello from California. Oh, you lucky person. California is bliss. Farah Belbagaria, just singing your name because it's beautiful. Well, I have a fun story for you guys. Well, our university told us if you want to come to Dean office only, the foreign students should come with a mask. In Russia, so only foreigners had to wear a mask. Again, that's like nationalism, isn't it? That's terrible. Working from home. Yeah, was that a Gendel vaccine? I don't know. So yeah, Ivan C says that in New York, many events with over 200 people have been cancelled. That's because you're in a state of emergency, and Moscow isn't. Moscow is in what is called a state of high alert. That's before you get into a state of emergency. That's a different thing. And what this also means is that schools are open, people go to work, everyone's sort of urged to wash their hands and use sanitizer and avoid handshakes, stay at home if you have flu-like symptoms. Sanitizers and face masks are, I think, the only things that you'll probably experience some sort of difficulty to find. You can still find them, but sometimes you'd walk into a pharmacy, and Moscow is like incredible. There's like 5 pharmacies on one tiny street because there are so many of them, and they might not have those. Yeah, so people aren't panicking yet. There is fear, I suppose. Like, we walked into the office, and this morning, because it's Friday, yeah, we found out that next Monday we won't have to be here. And it's not like we're running away and, I don't know, using sanitizer and drinking sanitizer and just like trying to isolate ourselves, etc. But you could tell how everyone went from cheerful and bubbly to, oh, this is real. And this is, I think, the general state of Moscow right now. Oh, this is happening. It's real. And this newly built hospital, for those that are in a quarantine, the fact that they're building another one, it's all signaling the fact that we're not sure whether or not our healthcare system is fully prepared. And this is going to hit hard the most vulnerable of us, people who already need medical attention, even if they don't have a virus, okay? So they will probably face certain problems getting the attention that they need. For that same reason, healthy people are urged not to put pressure on the medical system. And that's why certain cases are not being registered. Again, just a thought, but this virus is pretty much deadly for those who have a low immune system. And Russia is in the middle of an HIV epidemic, which means that there are so many people here whose health might not be on par to fight the virus off very easily. Again, do the math. Just thinking about these kinds of things. A beautiful thing I found online today is like a list of healthy coping mechanisms. So when everyone is a little bit down, and you can tell, you feel that when you encounter people, you can see that on social media, everyone's just a little bit scared, and there's a reason for it. The last pandemic that we saw was in the 60s. I wasn't alive. So 10 healthy mechanisms to cope with fear and stress. 1, first off, accept your feelings. And that's sometimes the most difficult thing to do, to actually say, well, do you know what? I am a little bit scared and I am stressed and this is scary. Number 2, reestablish your usual routines if you can. Obviously, if you're staying at home and you can't go out anywhere, it's very difficult. But then think of the things that you like doing. Do you like sports? Maybe you can do some physical activity at home to make sure that your body is getting the nourishment that it needs, etc. Just little things. 3, create a mental safe place. This is so difficult, but call a friend, call someone you love, talk to your loved ones, and that would definitely create a bit of a safe space for you. Find self-compassion. This is so difficult for overachievers because we're usually like, oh no, I'm just going to kill myself and work myself into a state of frenzy and then just like try and achieve things instead of being kinder to ourselves and accepting our faults and fears and this whole situation, basically. Seek support and connection. Again, don't worry about it. Instead of trying to come across as someone who's like superhuman and can take in all of this terrifying information without feeling anything, be honest. Reach out to a friend. Laugh about it. I don't know. Turn to the positive, which in this case is statistics. Yes, there are thousands of people who are dead, but there are much more people who have recovered. And those numbers I always find reassuring. Recommit to your most important values. If you're religious, pray. If you're not, read philosophy. Go back to the basics. Just purify your souls in any means possible. Feel gratitude. Like, be thankful for the little things. That was me, just recently, because I was feeling down. I was working from home all week, and most of the time, I won't lie to you, and I'm not proud, but I was just like sitting in a state of fear, just staring into the wall, because I wasn't sure what was going on and how should I react, and should I bulk buy food, or should I get medicine, or should I try and get my loved ones out of the city into the country? I didn't know, and that really hindered my daily routine, up to the point where I realized, well, hang on a minute, I can just like continue to do things and try and be a little bit more grateful that all of this is only happening in my head right now. I don't actually need to do anything. Everyone I know isn't ill, and I'm grateful for that. And just like reminding yourself. And obviously do something constructive. That could be anything. Clean your wardrobe out if you're at home. Buy that buckwheat if you want to. You know, if you're so you'll be able to eat it within a year anyway. So yeah, buy the rice and buckwheat. Why not? Buy the grain. That said, there are less graceful coping mechanisms, and we've been spotting them online already. Memes. Yes, Russians have been creating little memes about the coronavirus, and some of them I even laughed at like a week ago. Now, suddenly, these things aren't funny anymore. So, number one, if you can't see the virus can't see you. That I don't find funny anymore at all. This other one is terribly politically incorrect. When Xi Jinping sneezes, have a look at this one. No-go zone again. Another one, here's your package from China. And the last one is the only one I find funny, and I still do. There is a cure for coronavirus, but scientists can't open it. Now this, what you see right now, we all know it from the Soviet times. I think it's from Vietnam. It's basically like this balm that is very stingy. We use it when you have like a running nose or headache. It's like tiger balm, but it's virtually impossible to open it. It's so difficult. I remember this from childhood, and even now, if you can find it, you can open it when it's new, and then it kind of just like, if a little piece of it gets stuck in between the metal folds, it's a goner. You can't open it. So that was the only one that I found somewhat funny. I also want to cough all the time, which is counterproductive and terrifies me. Let's get back to your comments. Humorin says, Привет от Рене и Евгений в Khabarovsk. Hello from Renee and Evgenia in Khabarovsk. Hello to you too. Also, if you're from Russian cities which are not Moscow, let me know how you guys are doing. Also interesting. JY Joyce says that I feel that coronavirus in Korea is starting to calm down a bit. I mean, in Korea we have classes via internet until April, and major events are postponed. Yeah, I think that's where we're all headed these days. Alexander Lee, Bolsonaro tests positive. Trudeau's wife tests positive. Czech Republic closes all borders. Rumors of corona at MGIMO, and lots of students are sick, yet no one seems to care. I don't think that anyone seems to care. I think that a lot is being done at the moment to tackle the issue, but and not to spread panic as well, but I do feel that when you compare the numbers, 28 cases just sounds unrealistic. Jeremy Manuel, out toilet paper in NC ran out in stores last night. They sent back all the toilet paper from China, is what I was told. Is there any shortage of goods in Russia because of the coronavirus? Not yet. So far, it's hand sanitizer and masks. You will find difficulty finding them, but you will find them, and that's in Moscow. And as I said, all of the shelves are full. Stores are all full. You don't see things like in Europe, for example, or New York. I did buy additional toilet paper, but I said this previously. Maybe if you joined us a little bit later, I'll say it again. This might be due to the fact that Russians are used to buying online. So you buy all your groceries online. This nice person delivers them right to your flat with like barely any additional cost to it. It's cheap and it's very efficient, and people do it without any pandemics, epidemics, high alert situations, etc. It's just the way things are done here. So probably all of this produce is leaving the shelves of huge storage spaces, and we can't really see how its numbers are shrinking. Patricia Bennett, best to be strong and focused, try to get everything in perspective, and do take precautions. Wishing the best for everyone, and I stand by those words. I couldn't have said it better myself, and I think that's exactly what we should do. We should think about other people and be compassionate, not be nationalistic, and make sure that I don't know. Make sure that I don't know, because that's exactly what's going on. I used to always tell this to my students in uni, that these days, our only big asset, the only thing that we should teach ourselves and learn how to live, create, work, and be inspired and stay alive is to be flexible. And this is the time where everyone, the whole planet right now, needs to be flexible and to adjust to these new circumstances that we're living in currently. And to be honest, I think everyone's doing a pretty good job. So let's take a minute to thank ourselves and to think how amazing we're doing. Hello from Novosibirsk. Hello, Novosibirsk. Gold Star Bomb. Yeah. Live Russian. Here in France, people went crazy after yesterday's president's speech. The stores are full of people preparing to stay at home for months. Oh boy. When I think about French people who want to stay at home for months, I know that they'll be buying a lot of food. It's one country that appreciates food, right? Yelena Kuzmitskaya, I think that there's no panic in small towns, only in big ones. In my town, nobody cares about coronavirus. We are more concerned about whooping cough outbreak. Again, a thing, and it's terrible. Because if you think about the coronavirus as something that is symptomatic as flu, the whooping cough is a whole different story. That's way worse. Yelena, if you could tell us which town you're from, that would be really cool. Karumin TV, I was afraid to go to work today, so I called sick. I'm also afraid to not find a nice and good girlfriend. Stay safe, everyone. Much love from Montreal, Canada. Much love to Montreal, Canada, and to your Trudeau. Who's Trudeau? He's a prime minister, right? Yes. And to his wife. I can't remember her name. I'm sorry. Okay. So, some facts I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you something which I'm not very keen on. The video about the prank. Do we still have that? So this dude, before things like got really serious and people understood what was going on, I think that's when it happened, because he apologized later. This guy, whose surname is Jaborov, ran into a metro carriage and pretended that he had coronavirus, and we have a video of that, and that was just very bad. Anyway, he got arrested for it, and then he was let go, but still, he's also very sorry that he did it. And I think that's not the way we should, like, that's not the kind of sense of humor that will save us. Definitely not this, but have a look at it.
Коронавирус здесь. Выходите, быстрее, быстрее, выходите!
Что у нас есть? Hello. This is me speaking Russian with my crew. Haha. A little bit. Елена Kuzmitskaya says that she's from Smolensk. Thanks. So Smolensk is not that small, by the way. But thank you so much for the information. Sorry, it's just like going through a comment just now. Mr. Raccoon says that shutting down borders is not nationalistic. Prevention is better than a cure. What are you on about? I never said anything about shutting borders. I think shutting borders is trying to prevent stopping the cure. I think nationalism is the memes that we showed, like when China is to blame and people are laughing at Chinese people and these kind of, that's nationalism. That's wrong. That shouldn't be happening. Also, asking only foreign students to wear masks and not asking anyone else to do that, that's nationalistic. That's what I was talking about. Mr. Raccoon. Live Russian, agreed on shutting down borders. There's no way people want to stay healthy and not offend anyone by letting everyone enter the country. Yeah, I guess you guys are talking to each other, but you've heard me. You know what I'm talking about. The ruble has crashed a bit versus the dollar because of the coronavirus. Not just because of it. There's something else involved, but also the virus. Yes. Soy boy, Justice Wannabe. Pretty odd Russia has been awfully quiet about the virus. Why is that? It hasn't, to be honest. Every day when I start the morning and I check any kind of news outlet, be it in Russian or English, all of the top news is about the virus. So, of course, it's a huge issue here. There's an amazing video that was shot by Artur Sokolov and Anton Krasovsky. It's in Russian, but if you can find it and if you know Russian, please check it out because it's like an encyclopedia of everything that's going on right now. It explains so well why here in Russia the virus is pretty much lethal for the older generation, like how they develop pneumonia and how there's, by that stage, there's no going back, like there's no chance that the person will recover. How it's difficult for kids to catch the virus, because the healthier and the younger you are, it seems the more difficult it is for the virus to penetrate the cell. So that's all in that video, and they're so much better at explaining it because he's actually talking to doctors and to people who know what they're talking about than me. So I'm trying to steer away from the scientific facts and figures and make sure that you know what it feels like for the average Joe right now in Moscow. I would probably say that I think people are a little bit too relaxed at the moment. And the video that I just told you about by Krasovsky, he interviews a guy from China who describes how the outbreak just happened in one day. Like they were out and about with their friends, just having a nice time, and they wanted to see each other the next day. And then suddenly one of his friends calls him and says, well, this can't happen because the metro's shut down. And that could virtually happen here as well. 20 million people living in Moscow, and just shutting down the metro would mean that that's it. It's like a standstill for the city in many ways. Oksana Uspenskaya. We've planned a trip to Belgium about 6 months ago and not going to cancel it unless all of the flights will be cancelled. Actually, are more afraid for our seniors. Well, Belgium's now closed, so I don't think that's going to happen. Correct me if I'm wrong. Elwoke, buy potatoes, easy to harvest for multiple generations. We Dutch have a famous painting, The Potato Eaters, for a reason. I know that painting. It's very good. I also love potatoes. I bought potatoes. There are lists that are circulating the internet right now on how to stock up for at least 2 weeks. I think one of them was published officially by the state of New York, which is an emergency state right now. But also, that's a preventive measure. It's not because there are so many people who are sick in New York at the moment. It's because they're trying to make sure that that number won't grow. And it's important to understand that it's a different situation from, say, Italy. Mikhail Rashkov, but the virus caused some economic stall, and thus the oil demand dropped somewhat, dropping the prices. It's all a very difficult and complicated issue. Like there's Saudi Arabia and Russia with the oil issue, and that's happening simultaneously to what's happening with the virus, simultaneously to what's happening with the stock market and the American stock market. And it's basically like you don't have to be a genius. Slump all of that together, where going to be in a situation where everything's going to be more expensive very soon. So, no surprises. Okay, this is a good question, Maitre. I'm curious, what's the plant behind you, Anna? Is it a succulent, a real one? Yes, all of them are succulents, and they're real. And this one, I just forgot its name. I remembered earlier. We used them for the video that we shot. That's coming out. Is it coming out next week, Aishan? Maybe the week after next week. We can't predict anything these days, but yeah, it will involve succulents. They are great for Russia because they don't care about sunlight and they're fine if you don't water them. So they're very happy in our dry winters. I have one of Zemiakulkas, this one is called, because I have like tons of these, and they grow so well that I eat mine even flowers. It has a really, really intense flower, which is also green. Yeah, they're real. They're real. I love flowers. You will also soon find out that I have a windowsill garden, which is like, I'm such a geek, where I grow herbs and what are they called? They're like tiny little tangerines, calamandine, they're called, and I make jam out of those. Like, I'm the worst. I could stay at home forever and just never leave. We'll see if that's going to happen in my reality. Jeremy Manuel, how long do you think it will be before they put a cure on the Russian market? Do you think it will be available in the next 2 years? Well, I'm no specialist, so to be honest, I don't know. It's just that in my I remember when the dollar was 24 rubles, and it's never going back to that number, is it? So it's been gradually creeping up, and sometimes not as gradually as we'd like in the recent days. But I feel like it's not going to recover, because it never does. So we'll see. Maitre, awesome. I'm excited about the succulent video and the Spotify project. Well, that's fantastic. It's not a video that's entirely dedicated to succulents. It's like it features succulent plants, but it's about flowers in general. So that's going to be interesting. That's what we've been filming. I started coughing really severely because I got allergic to one of the plants, and like literally, I kid you not, one of the cameramen who was here earlier, who's like, I'm not coming near her, I'm leaving. So that's the reality we live in these days. Guys, last chance for your comments, because I think we're going to vacate the studio pretty soon. Again, I am very sorry that we started later, but it was for a good cause because it involved these babies. Maitre, I have a big garden as well and a good amount of succulents in my collection. I wish I could show them to you. We would absolutely love that. Why don't you use our corporate email to send us some photos? Because believe it or not, we're actually quite a small newsroom. So if you send us some of those photographs, we'll definitely be able to see those. I think we're Russia Beyond at Russia Beyond. What's our corporate email? Just going to quickly find out and let you know. Oh, it's already in the comment section. So that's for all of you to use if you want to send us some photos and like keep in touch, etc. And maybe we can feature those later on in streams as well. That would be fun. I'd love to do that. Justin Monroe had a trip planned to Moscow as part of a study program through my university, but my school shut down all travel to anywhere. Yeah, I understand you. My office shut down all travel to anywhere. South by Southwest was cancelled. Coachella's postponed. The Venice Biennale is postponed. So like, these are exactly the kind of this new reality that we just really rapidly need to adjust to and to take it all in, rather than rigidly trying to push away all of this and like say, no, this isn't happening. I really wanted to go. Take a deep breath, take it in. You're not coming to Russia. Hopefully you'll manage it next year, possibly. And let's just all stay safe, wash our hands, use sanitizers. We're meant to not touch our face, which is completely impossible for me because I always touch my face. And yeah, just be kind. Be kind to people around you and be kind to people on the internet. And remember that even if we do turn to a good old meme or to a prank or like joke about it to try and relieve our stress, people are dying. So this is all happening and it's all important. Don't panic and stay healthy. And I'll see you next week, I think, from my home, which will be interesting, at least. Maybe I can walk around and do a little tour, if you'd want that. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Thank you for participating and thank you for all of your comments and stay safe. Bye-bye.